and welcome to another evening of frank conversation here on Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf. As we come to the end of the year, it's not unusual to get a bit reflective and ask questions on how the year has been spent. If goals set were achieved, and if they weren't, what can be done to ensure they're not missed in the new year? For Nigeria, this will become more important as it enters 2022, the year when those who will be elected in 2023 will emerge and begin to canvass for votes. It's important that the issues which are paramount to us are kept in view and don't become clouded in the dust of politics, which will certainly come with the harmattan of the season. It's why on Hard Copy tonight, we sit with the Minister of Transportation, Amaechi, and ask questions about the ministry which he superintends. His ministry is arguably one of the biggest ministries with over 10 different parastatals and agencies in its charge. Asking his thoughts on goals set, achieved and missed for the year, the plan for 2022 and his overarching thought as Nigeria goes into a political year. The Ministry of Transportation encapsulates almost all the means of transportation except air, which has its own Ministry of Aviation. However, the Ministry of Works tends to be more involved with the most popular means of transportation, which are the roads, than the Transportation Ministry itself. So I began by asking the minister how he works around this seeming conundrum, and here is his response.
The construction part of roads is with Ministry of Works. 80% of policy decisions are made in Ministry of Transport. Maybe the rest 20% will come from Federal Ministry of Works. But like you know, when two friends are working together, I don't expect any disagreements.
Yeah, but how does that work? I mean, I know that there's been a
you can't go to Ministry of Works and say, I want to construct road, because that's their business. But certainly, if there are areas of disagreement in terms of policies, and don't forget, in terms of implementation of road infrastructure, in terms of movement of human beings, it lies in the state, between the state and the local government. So what essentially you see at the federal level is policy enactment, and then implementation, where there is no conflict, is done at the state level.
What major policies have we seen with regards to road transportation?
We've made the policy of encouraging biking. Okay, we're using bicycle, not motorcycle. That's because of the issue of health conditions. So we looked at that part. We say that we need to create paths for bicycle and all that. No, it has not been implemented, but we made the policy. In fact, somebody told me that I wasn't even the first to make the policy. Under Ojoma Dekwe.
Indeed.
He even displayed it by riding bike from the Ministry of Transport to Cabinet and had a Cabinet meeting. At the end of the Cabinet meeting, I'm sure he rode back to his house. And it's not been effective.
Is it really something we're serious about, or it's just one of those policies we make?
We are serious about it, but don't forget that also to back it will be enforcement. Enforcement is not in our hands, it's in the hands of the state.
Enforcement, it has to be attractive. I mean, you've just talked about the fact that there are no roads for bicycles to ply.
Yeah, but in Abuja, even here in the office, on the other side, as you drive, you see the bicycle lane. It's pretty created there in Abuja. But see, people don't use bike in Abuja. Can you ride a bike to work?
Honorable Minister, this conversation will be very important as we go into 2022, and I'll tell you why. Because the Ministry of Petroleum has just announced that it's going to be taking away subsidies. That conversation is back on the front burner, and a lot of people are wondering what the alternatives will be for those who will not be able to afford whatever will come as a result of an increase in petrol, which is one of the popular, which is perhaps the most used, from what we have now, the most used form of fuel for transport. So that conversation is going to come back to the front burner as to what other options are there. And if bicycles are one of the things that you're thinking of, and there are no roads to use them.
It's no motorized form of transportation. So you don't have to buy fuel, you don't have to go, just minor repairs here and there.
Exactly.
But don't ask me, why don't we have the path, and I call it, this thing for those who want to ride bicycle. It's there in Abuja. Have you done that? That's why I asked you. I said,
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the path for bicycles in Abuja. I haven't. I happen to live in a suburb in Abuja, and I use the express road almost every day. I rarely see any path for bicycles.
Right here, at the other gate of the entrance to Channel, you will see the path shared between human beings and bicycles. Wide enough to take even a car. In case you don't know, when we finish here, we'll throw to that place.
Oh, you mean the shoulders?
That's not shoulders. That's not shoulders.
Assume that was...
That's not shoulders. In between the road and what's the bicycle path is the trees that they have been planted.
Is that really a bicycle path?
Of course it is. It's not meant for motorcycle, but motorcycles.
No, not motorcycles. I assumed it was for pedestrians.
Bicycle
and then the roads should be shared with
wide
everything
enough.
Moving.
No way, wide enough to contain both human beings and bicycle riders. All of human beings also ride bicycle. But you see, you have ignored it, or most Nigerians have ignored it, and prefer motorized form of transport.
Well, I don't think
that bicycle is non-motorized.
I don't think the leadership has shown example in that regard. I mean, if that's what they're thinking, then they too haven't shown that this is precisely where they're looking with their own examples. You don't ride a bicycle, do you?
Before we started this, we had agreed that Ojoma Dekwe rode bicycle from his office to cabinet.
We remember what his experience was.
What was his experience?
We understand he was knocked down at some point. It was a serious issue.
Please. He wasn't knocked down. It wasn't. You know what it is to knock down a minister? Even if a minister is riding a bicycle, there will be security men protecting him as he rides his bicycle.
I'm trying my best not to chuckle. But the truth is, if that was the path that the ministry was thinking, it hasn't shown leadership in that regard.
I've responded to that question. I said, Ojoma Dekwe, who was the Minister for Transport, showed leadership. Did you follow?
It's no longer in government.
No, I don't care. What's important that
if you say that you've revived that that's a policy that you're following, I don't see that you're riding a bicycle. You didn't ride a bicycle here, did you?
How do you know? Have you checked outside to see whether there's no bicycle?
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not ride a bicycle here?
Yes, I did. Are you satisfied with that kind of question answer?
Because I know that answer is not true. But let's go on in this interview. What a lot of people now know, and what you've championed largely in transportation, are the rails. They know that there's been a lot of work done around rail development. A few of them have been completed. Lagos-Ibadan is now in service. Abuja-Kaduna has been expanded. You've started work on a few other rail lines. But the question is, the cost at which it has come. I know you've defended a lot of times. Just a moment. You've defended a lot of times the cost of procurement for these things. You've talked about the loans that we're getting, and a lot of people are worried about our debt burden and how. Just a moment.
What's your debt burden?
Whether or not it is sustainable. It is very hard. I do not work with debt management officer, but whether or not this debt is sustainable has been a major source of conversation. So that is still there. How we're going to pay back these loans is still there. But I think that what is paramount right now, because you have argued that the economic benefits is what will accrue to Nigeria in terms of economic activities that pick up in different parts of the country. The question is, how quickly can we ramp up this rail service in such a way that we begin to feel the real impact of its service?
I don't know if you remember when you interviewed me once. Is this kind of attempt to push an answer? Let me repeat what I tell most Nigerians, and I repeat it to you more. The first thing to tell you here is that Nigeria has the capacity to pay back, and we've commenced paying back. We did. We have. I give an example that out of $500 million that President Goodluck Jonathan borrowed for Abuja Kaduna, at the time I was speaking, we are paid over 100 and something million out of the $500 million. Now, the Ministry of Transport is beginning to contribute. So we make 300 million naira per month from Abuja Kaduna, and we deduct.
You said we make how much per month?
300 million naira
per month from Abuja Kaduna.
Yes.
Okay.
So we pay back. We're able to, once we deduct the income, the expenditure aspect of it, and then currently we are running Lagos-Ibadan from the money we make from Abuja, Kaduna. At the end of the day, you pay back about 100 and something million to the federal government.
So as it stands right now, some of the let me say one of the lines is beginning to get profitable.
Of course.
Are we able to pay?
Very soon, once we put 16, well, intend to put about 16 trains on Lagos Ibadan. We expect that we'll begin to make more money from Lagos Ibadan, and we'll put that part of what we need to pay back.
How soon do you think we're going to introduce? I do notice, I mean, I've had to take the train recently on the Abuja-Kaduna rail, on the Abuja-Kaduna line rather.
How did you feel?
It was good to note that the coaches have increased the number, so the rush, the push to get tickets had reduced a great deal, and people could actually independently get their tickets, which was also a very good development. However, on the lines that are very,
Must you say, however?
It's to make a question.
You know why I asked that question? You have acknowledged the fact that there are developments. You have acknowledged the fact that you enjoyed the benefits of the contributions to the economy the transportation has made. We wish to know that the last quarter, transport was noted as the fastest growing sector of the Nigerian economy.
It's not to say that that area is without concern. So,
of course. So
one, there's a question of maintenance. Because I do know that right from the very first time that the train launched, I mean, I've been a passenger on that line, and I've noticed that the services, even though they're still very prompt, but in terms of the wear and tear on the coaches themselves is beginning to be obvious.
Like where?
And one would assume
like
that it's too early. I just told you the Abuja-Kaduna rail.
You don't bother Abuja-Kaduna more than me if I have to go to Kaduna. I use the train. And I'm ready tomorrow morning. No, I think I have an exam tomorrow. I'm ready on Saturday morning to hop into that train with you and show me the wear and tear.
Okay, well.
It's a challenge.
Yes,
tell the public that you're willing to accept the challenge.
I'm willing to take that on. I mean, that's
Saturday morning.
I'm willing to take that on, but
Saturday morning, Mrs. Mokbe.
Honorable Minister, I'm not able to commit, but I just told you I'm willing to take that on a day that will be convenient to both parties. Nonetheless,
what's wrong with you on a Saturday?
Honorable Minister, it's my interview, not yours. So, I just said that I'm willing to take that on, and I think that should be good enough. The wear and tear is there.
Where? I need to know.
On the line. I mean, the wear and tear is there on the line.
Where?
So
okay, let's have it with the toilets. There are contractors on almost all the toilets in the train. So when you hop into the toilet and come out, the contractor moves in to clean it up. I hate to see a dirty environment. That's one. You spread diseases if you
Have you seen the toilets at Iduro station?
No.
You've never had cause to use them?
No.
I've had cause to use them.
That's because my emphasis...
And I can tell you that it is less than standard.
Okay, no problem. I'll find out why it should be so, because there's supposed to be a contractor maintaining the Iduro station. But first, put it at the back of your mind. This was 2016. You should at least accept that they say, oh, Nigerians can't maintain anything, Nigerians can't manage anything. We've managed it for 5 years.
How many more years are we looking that we will have this rail lines with us?
Let me repeat what I said when I was in Port Harcourt as governor. Oh, the governor, you're working hard. You're building schools. You're building health centers. All sorts of things. How do we maintain it? How do you sustain it? I will do it to the best of my ability until I leave office. When I leave office, if the next man comes and doesn't want to maintain it, people ask him.
No, my point is, when we take loans, when we're going to pay over a long period, we know how long the loans are going to take to pay. Mm-hmm. When we're building infrastructure, we should have an idea of how long we hope that infrastructure will be in existence. True or false?
Do I look like God? Nobody can tell you.
Nobody can.
Nobody
but
can.
At least we can make plans. Isn't that right?
The plans we have
is
that we have maintenance budget, so you maintain it from time to time. That's why you see that on Saturdays or Sundays most trains are shut down, even though we see maintain scatter services to maintain the whole train. Secondly, we put in contractors on virtually every coach to enable them be able to maintain infrastructures in the train. So for us in government, for us, those of us who are in President Buhari's government, until we leave, it almost looks brand new. I tell my colleagues in the ministry, we need to replace the ballast on Abuja Kaduna. The fact that it's looking brand new does not mean we shouldn't replace it, because the law requires us, well, not the law, when I say law, I'm talking about the engineering law, requires that every year you must take away 15% of the stones, of the ballast, and replace them every year. And we've not done it. And I've been shouting And it's not as if there's no budget for it. There is.
So why haven't we done it?
Well, we'll tell you due process for advertising. Every year they're advertising. So you have to do the due process of advertisement, look for those who go to. Unless you say to us, give it back to the Chinese, because they built it.
So you admit that there are inefficiencies in terms of how we're running it?
What's inefficient about the fact that, see, it's just a requirement of law. Does not mean that those stones are bad. You know that engineering says, look, every year you must take away 15% of those stones, right? And replace them with another 15%. But if you go to...
There's a reason why engineering says
that's why I acknowledge it from beginning. I said the fact that it looks brand new, the stones are not disappearing, does not mean we should not obey that regulation.
Well, you're the minister. One would wonder what other higher authority there is. If the minister is saying that he's telling people to do it and they're not doing it, who else do we go to?
DPP. Well, at the end of the day, what is holding them account to them is, the process of having to advertise. But what I tell them is the law. You must obey the law. Just go to the due process.
Do you have a problem with the BPE?
No. It's the length of time. BPP, not BPE. It's the length of time that they have the problem with. It's not me. My responsibility is not to procure. It is the procurement department and the railway department that are supposed to do that.
I asked that because you know that there was actually some investigation carried out recently where it was seen that you were jumping procurement process.
You carried out the investigation?
I didn't carry it out,
Is it possible that cabinet will approve anything that you jump procurement process? Is it possible in Nigeria, especially in Buhari's government, that you can jump procurement process? Let's go to that point. We'll go to that point.
You answered
I'm ready to discuss that. I'm ready to discuss that. I'm ready to discuss it because you listen and read false information.
Sometimes we've been told that an approval does not necessarily mean that the procurement has been done.
No.
It doesn't mean that it will still not go through procurement.
Exactly. If you don't do those processes, you will not come to cabinet. You can't come to cabinet. By the time you arrive cabinet, it means that you've gone through that process. If you don't go through the process, the first man to raise his hand in the cabinet will be the BPP man. Excuse me, sir, this did not pass through us.
So are you saying that the investigation carried out by Premium Times was not factual?
I don't want to accuse Premium Times of lying. I don't know where they got their news from. They should come confront me where you're confronting me. And let me tell you the story. I'm sure you're not following what's going on in that story. If you are following, who asked that question? Here are interested parties. Rent culture. People come to my house, look for my wife, look for me, promise me money if I give them the contract, and I say no. So when they don't get it, they go to newspapers. And they will go and write, okay, take for instance, they say, the company Medtech is a medical company. Mediterranean Technology. And they say Medtech is a medical company, is a housing company.
But did
desperation, if I tell you the desperation.
But did you follow due process in, did they follow due process in getting the contract from the Ministry of Transportation?
Nobody has gotten the contract yet. When the due process, just because their names were not among the people qualified to go. That's why they went haywire. And you're not following the write-up between me and some government agencies. Everybody's interested, calling me left, right, and center of the same contract.
Government agencies are interested?
So where, the letters already, you're not reading some letters that made me write to the president to say, tell them to back off. And the president told them to back off.
What interest do government agencies have if they're not trying to just make you follow due process? Are they interested in getting the contracts for themselves?
You should ask them. I thought there was one. I thought they leaked a document. When they leaked it by reply, when they leaked by letter, they didn't leak the letter knowing that there was another letter to the president that I was replying to. So whoever leaked it should have leaked the first letter, the person wrote to the president, and I replied. And I said, please tell these people to back off. You see, there are too many interests in my ministry. Everybody wants to do one thing or the other in my ministry. There's MPA, people want to take over MPA. There's NIMASA, people want to take over NIMASA. And I'm watching them. Why the economic interest? So now, Premium Times publishes, or say Medtech is a medical company, and they're not ashamed if they find out that the investigation shows that it's called Mediterranean Technology. And you, as a journalist, you should ask, what's the interest of those who are fighting? What investigation? That somebody went and leaked a document to them, and then they said they should publish, and they published.
You just mentioned, Honorable Minister, I followed the train of thought. You mentioned that the procurement process is lengthy. It takes a long time. There have been allegations in the past that you do not exactly like the process of procurement, that it takes way too much time. And it was in that you were confirming that inadvertently by your statement.
No matter what you say, no matter what you think, no matter what you do, you must complete the procurement process before you can get to cabinet. You don't do it, cabinet will step it down. Listen again. There will be no approval from cabinet that does not comply with the procurement law. None.
So far so good. I mean, how would you rate? If you say that for roads, your plan was to use bicycles, and then that's the focus of the that's the policy which you were coming up with, the overarching policy, and that exactly hasn't quite worked. Rail seems to be picking up somewhat, but it's yet to cover a lot of ground. We only have a few critical areas. There's still other areas that are waiting to feel the impact of rail. And even in the places where we have started, we're yet to ramp up in such a way that people feel the effect. Water transportation, we have yet to really hear anything concrete in that regard. Where would you say that you've had the most impact with regards to the plans that you come up with in the Ministry of Transportation, since you say that policies is what you're really focusing on?
I didn't say policies. I say when it comes to road transportation, the highest the Minister of Transport can do in road transportation is to make policies. And he asked me what I should name one of the policies that we've made. And I said we're encouraging people to use bicycles. And we're encouraging state governors in constructing roads, they should create a path, a lane for bicycles. So Nigerians will be encouraged to ride bicycles. That's what I told you about roads. When it comes to rail transport, I'm a bit disappointed when they say you need to ramp up. I don't know how old you are. Tell me when last you boarded the train in Nigeria before the emergence of President Buhari.
I'm asking you that in relation to your defense. When we will actually begin to see the benefits, or where we will reap the benefits of this, is not so much in terms of the monies that these rail lines are able to bring in, but in terms of the economic activities which they will spur along their line. For them to be able to spur that level of economic activity, which we'll begin to see and benefit from, there has to be a ramp up of activities along those lines. You don't agree?
You know how long it takes to construct rail? You know that it takes you 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years to construct, say, 1,000 kilometers of rail. In 4 years, we have done 750 kilometers of rail, and we don't have money. We've done Kaduna Abuja, which is 186 kilometers. We've done Lagos Ibadan, which is 156 kilometers. We've done Itabe Warri, which is about 350 kilometers. Work is ongoing at Kano Kaduna. Ongoing. Meanwhile, we've not gotten any loan yet on Kano Kaduna. The amount of money we spent so far all come from the federal purse. We spent over $400 million. We're inching close to $500 million.
You say we don't have money, yet we can afford to pay back.
Yeah, if you take a loan, you have to find a way to pay back. So the federal government is able to pay back. Now, we are working on, currently, that...
Those two statements are not exactly together.
How?
That we don't have money. It's a fact that Nigerians know that things are very tight financially, and their concerns on paying back the loans are legitimate. You don't think so?
You've not even appreciated the fact that I say that out of about $2 billion you need to construct rail from Kano to Kaduna, the federal government has already put in $500 million without having to go to any bank for a loan. We've not gone to any bank yet. We'll go. At the end of the day, we'll go if we're going to pay $2 billion. But credit to the Buhari's government that we are commenced construction of the Kano Kaduna rail without necessarily having to take a loan, and we've put in about $500 million. Now, hold on. We are working on what is holding us, and I thank God that I got the approval today. What is holding us from commencing work from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri? Kano Maradi and Lagos Calabar, is because we have not gotten approval from BPP for consultants that will supervise the contractors. Fortunately today, as I left the office, before I left the office, I've gotten the approval from BPP. So the next thing to do is to go to cabinet.
So it is good to know that there will be more work coming up before the end of this administration. But we must
by January, we should have commenced work, by the end of January, we should have commenced work in Kano, Maradi, Port Harcourt, Maiduguri. I hope that we're able to ramp up, or let me borrow your word, the conversation we have on the loan negotiation for Lagos Calabar, so that my own people too can benefit, which is the South people.
That's the program, but it's not done. The
All
governor
the-
of Lagos does
Yeah,
not
I
have
don't think-
sufficient
He
infrastructure
doesn't.
on ports.
If that's what he's talking
when
about.
he is feeling the weight of what is
The
happening
fact
at the
that,
ports in his
they are
state.
using Lagos more than any other thing does not mean that the other ports are not functioning. They are. The reason why most people use Lagos, two reasons. The first is the security.
That we will bring you next week. In the meantime, please send your thoughts and questions to the handle showing on your screen. Thank you for watching. I'm Amaechi. Good night.